Hi, I'm Amanda McCoy-Flanagan.
And I'm Ginny Oliva-Smith. Welcome to Soul Rising.
On this podcast, you will hear honest, off-the-cuff, vulnerable conversations about all things love, loss, and connection.
Deep and meaningful conversations sure to pull at your heartstrings and enlighten your soul.
Again, welcome. It's time to let your soul rise.
Hey, everybody. Hello. Thank you guys so much for joining us back on Soul Rising Season 2.
Welcome to Season 2, first episode with our boy Patrick Thrasher. So happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation. Thank you. I have my podcast, Let's Talk with Patrick podcast. I talk about everything.
So good.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you too was on my show. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you for coming through and doing it for me. That was great.
Totally. Thanks for having us.
Fun time.
That was awesome. I think that was our first one, right, Ginny?
Yeah.
That was
It was.
Patrick was our first show that we were on.
Yeah.
And that was a crazy day. You guys remember? My half-sister had
Yes.
reached out to me. That's craziness. We'll get back into that someday. But yeah, craziness. That was such an amazing day. So we were glad to be there with you.
Very special day. So what we do here on Soul Rising, for anybody who's new, Soul Rising all in on love, loss, and connection. So we talk about how human emotion works to either connect us or disconnect us from ourselves and from each other.
That's right.
And we talk about it in our first season. We talk a lot about what inspired Ginny and I to start this show. It was all the division in the world, which I think we're all feeling like
It's all gone
doubly
now,
now.
right? Isn't it gone now,
Exactly.
Amanda? Everything's fine.
everything's better.
World's perfect.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes, we've solved the world's problems in season 1.
This is why we have to do another season. We were like, everything will be great. And then they're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, now we want to
That's-
bring our friends on and we want to bring people on that can
Yes.
help us do this even more,
Together.
right? Like our whole deal is connecting with each other. So like to have guests, it's like
Yes.
just bringing that to the next level.
Yes, some unity.
So-
That's what we need. We need more unity, more love,
It is what we need.
more hugs, all that good stuff. That's right.
More-
yeah.
More understanding, right? More hugs, more
Yes.
love.
Yes.
Patrick, you are
Yes.
onto it.
Absolutely.
You're so right.
So let's get into it with Pete Thrilla. That's his Instagram handle, by the way. I love that. Pete Thrilla.
Yes, me too.
So let's do it. So today we want to talk with Patrick a little bit about music and how music inspires us, what type of emotion it evokes. Patrick makes his own music. He is a music maker.
cool.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that ties into your own show and the guests that you have on your show?
So my uncle, Bennett Johnson, he had a jazz band, okay? So being around that, he came to my school about 29, 30 years ago. He came to my school and he performed with his band, and I thought it was so cool. My father, rest in peace to him, he was a DJ. And my oldest brother was a DJ as well. And we had a friend of ours named Wally. He was part of So Def, the label that had Crisscross and people like that at that time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that
yeah.
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I've
Uh-huh.
heard that.
So at that time, his mother stayed behind our
Wow.
house. They stayed in the same neighborhood. So we used to see Wally all the time. He used to come over and he did a remix to Bobby Brown as well. This song called Humping Around. He played the keyboards and everything.
Yes.
So being around that, you know what I mean? Like that influenced me big time. It did. And I used to make my own tapes once upon a time. I used to go to my cousin's Betty place. Well, she's dead as well. She was a bootlegger. She used to have like all these old people there. And I used to make all these blues tapes. Artists like Coco Taylor and Little Milton. All these old blues singers they love. So that helped me.
Yeah.
And then I started playing instruments. I played clarinet in the band. And that was my journey. And
Wow.
I started to make beats and just sampling and all kind of things.
What did you use back then? So I don't even know how to make that. I mean, now I know people use computers, but like, how did you make music? Just recorded
Drum
on
machines,
what?
probably. You're like
Drum machines and keyboard. Yeah.
And keyboards.
Yeah. Keyboard.
808s.
Yeah, stuff like that. Absolutely. If you had like vinyl, you could sample like 5 seconds and chop it up, do your own thing with it as well. And so that was my
Wow.
beginning because my brother had a beat machine at the time. This was back in 96 during the Olympics when he came to visit. Well, his manager got killed in the Olympics. Like the bomb had went off and the nail went through her head. Yeah, her name was Alice. That's her name.
Oh,
Yeah. Yep.
shoot.
That was the manager.
We'll get into this later, but your life to me, like the people that I love it that you are around so many different people with so many different, really, really intense life stories. Even your show reflects that. But man, you're telling us a story now. Like that's
So cool.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that on my show, but I said, I'm going to wait until somebody asks me, then I'll talk about that. So here you go.
Ah, see?
Yeah. Oh, we
You're
love
waiting
it.
for us.
So at that time, I was trying to rap as well. So I used to write raps and record over like instrumentals and stuff on cassette tape. And then I started to record with my cousins, and because we had like a little group at the time. And one of the guys, he was a drug dealer at the time, but he was a good artist, you know.
Mhm.
So we
Happens a lot.
exactly.
Happens a
Yes.
lot. Overlap there.
I fully get that because my guitar player was one of the biggest coke dealers in Los Angeles in the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, like one
It
of those
just goes
things.
in hand, right?
It
I mean, like the
does.
music
Incredibly.
is that world. It's just, it's
And
there.
yeah, and some of it might just be that artistic thing, right? That a lot of us that are artists
Makes you a little more
we're-
creative.
Absolutely.
Well, that, right? Or that whole like we feel everything thing and we tend to try to block out some of it.
Yeah.
Is my guess.
Or enhance it, block it out or enhance it.
Right.
Enhance it, block it. But think of all the amazing musicians that have left us way too soon, like
Yeah.
overdosing due to addiction or whatever, that were freaking brilliant. I'm
Yeah,
way off
yeah.
topic, but
No.
please tell us
You fine.
about your cousin. So your cousin
What-
was a drug dealer, so you guys had good
What-
material to write.
It was like two of my cousins, and we had like two friends. But the friend, he was the drug dealer. He's the one that was selling
Okay.
crack and stuff like that at the time. And
Wow.
he's to write his whole life, like his real life story in his music at the time.
The struggle can turn into really great lyrics.
It can.
You know?
It can.
I feel like a lot of us creative people and artists in different ways comes from pain. You
It
know,
does.
comes that emotion that we don't know where to put it. We don't know where
Absolutely.
to put it.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
we put it into whatever artistic form that we're drawn to.
Yeah.
And in your case would be music.
Making music was a outlet for me at that time when I was coming up, because there was so much turmoil going on around me at that time, especially with my father.
Mm.
My father was a street dude. He used to go to jail. He got stabbed and all these different things that was happening at the time. So I had to find a way to deal with those things, because in those days we didn't really do therapy like we do now. We didn't talk about it. It was more taboo.
Oh yeah,
at the time.
no.
And
Oh no.
yeah, you know what I mean? So now I'm all about that. I'm an advocate. I think it's very important.
You're all about the healing. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah, indeed.
I think that's amazing too, though, Patrick, because there's a lot of people that have probably grown up in a similar manner that you have, that maybe don't know somebody else who's grown up in a similar manner that they have, that they know who's gone through that, hey, therapy is accessible to me. Therapy is an option for me. That's a huge deal that you use that as part of your platform to share with people, because people, I think, could identify.
Yeah.
They could be like, well, this dude knows my life, because it's pretty easy if you're in a situation and it's like, oh, you should get therapy, but for somebody to go, well, you don't know what I've been through. Your dad hasn't been to jail. Your dad hasn't been stabbed. What are you talking about?
Right.
So for you to be somebody who's using the platform you have to reach people and help on that mental health side is incredible. So job well done. And thank you for that work, because those are the people who need it the
Yeah.
most, I feel like.
I appreciate
Especially
that.
the men, right? You talked to us about that too, that's sort of like your mission is to reach more men and to let them know that it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah, it is.
Like you're not alone.
Absolutely, because my brother, I told you about my brother, he committed suicide in 2008. And at that time, I
I'm
didn't,
so sorry about that.
I appreciate that. At that time, I didn't have like the mental capacity to really ask. I didn't know what was going on at the time. And so when he did what he did, that's when I started to like look at things differently. And I started to have my own thoughts as well when I started going through things. Like when my mom passed away, I started to feel suicidal myself at that time, because I had too much idle stuff in my hands. And then everything was starting to shut down with the pandemic and everything. And it was just too much going on at that time. So that's why I really try to push mental health to a lot of people. Not saying I'm perfect, because I'm not perfect. I'm still working through things myself. But I just want people to feel comfortable,
Sure.
find a safe space so they can talk and just handle things in a healthy manner. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
Because when my brother died, I didn't handle things correctly. Like I was a little mean. I didn't care if things didn't get paid. I didn't care about anything. But when my mother died, I said, you know what? I'm going to do things different. I'm going to do therapy. Whatever I need to do, I'm doing it at that point. So I started to change. And plus I was older too. You know what I mean? I was much older compared to when my brother had passed away. This group called Blue October, they got a song called Hate Me. That makes me think about their whole ordeal. Because I think for us as men and just human beings, we need to have that outlet. All of us suffer with depression. Some people don't want to admit it. I can admit it. I'd be depressed, not every day, but I do have my moments where it come and go, for sure. I mean, how can I not?
Well, especially after grief, as Amanda in a whole different path, yet exactly the same, right? Losing her brother.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she'll speak to that too. But it really seems like grief in general takes us, especially those first really major, like a sibling or a parent or whatever it might be, really rips off a layer of armor that we tend to be able to walk around with. And all of a sudden you're just exposed to everything. And that is it's not an easy place to be at all.
No, it's dark. It's
No,
real
and then
dark.
Very dark. And the music for me helps. It's like a form of therapy. It helps me to be able to tap into like whatever those emotions are going on in there that I can't really reach. I don't really know what I'm feeling, but then there are some artists out there that just can put words to what I'm feeling. And it's like, holy cow, that's exactly what I'm going through, what I'm feeling. And then it can help me I guess, go into it more and feel more comfortable because not just somebody else is singing about it, but it's the words and then it's the actual music together that just brings something up and out and makes me see things a little bit differently or feel things a little bit differently and then feel safe to go into that safe space, like you said. So I think music is 100% therapy. So if anybody's listening and you're not ready for therapy, go find some music that speaks to your soul because
Right.
it'll
Absolutely.
open you up. It'll crack you
Yes.
wide open.
Absolutely. Marvin Gaye and What's Going On, that's another one I love. My mom used to play that all the time. And when I hear it, it makes me think about her a lot. You know what I mean? Because it's still a relevant song. Like not much has changed besides the year and the technology. You still got a lot of turmoil, a lot of
it's true.
conflict, a lot of issues, a lot of these atrocities that we still face as human beings still goes on.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me. I feel like music is probably one of the most powerful energies or entities. There's so much that it can do. You even watch at a concert where there's one band or one person on stage, but they are able, in that point, they're like a channel, like a lightning rod, to have everybody in the room feeling the same thing. And it might be behind the words of a song, the lyrics of something they wrote on a dark day, not realizing. I feel like musicians like that are tapping into a collective that it might not even be their own thoughts. It's theirs, but they're feeling the world's too. There are times a musician will hit you in a way where the way their chord progressions are and their lyrics and everything hit you in a way that it might not hit, your brother, your sister, or somebody right next to you the same way. But there's generally a whole group of people who can sit there at the same time, singing all the same words and feeling the same feelings. And the power behind that is not many other things like it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Ginny and I just went to go see Pearl Jam back in September in
That's
Texas.
right.
Yeah,
Amazing.
And I don't know, Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam, when they're all up there together, they have just a way of getting everybody in that space, whether 20,000 people. Yes, we're feeling it and thinking about it, how it affects us in our lives in different ways. But ultimately, there's just this connection, this collective energy that's going on. And I think great artists can do that. They have massive effect over large groups of people. And they also have a big responsibility to handle that responsibly because people are influenced by things that artists are saying and doing, and that energy that they put out there is very persuasive. It's very influential. Ginny, I'm sure you felt it too. I mean, you went to the show back in September in Denver as well, a year ago. So you know what I'm talking about. They have that thing. Some of these bands just have this like spark.
Oh, yeah.
That just makes
And
you feel connected to something greater.
And it is something greater, right? It's like there's no denying. And I mean, I used to feel that there's so many shows, sometimes even like people you may not have heard of before, or people like Dave Matthews. There were so many times I would go to these outdoor shows. Dave Matthews is such a good prime example of that, where sometimes I'd be going into these songs that were full on instrumental. You'd hear Carter on the drums or whoever. There's the words even, but whatever is like being generated, that energetic feel, and there's still emotion and you could feel it there. And it's, or to hear everybody chant the lyrics of whenever Eddie Vedder or whoever puts the mic out, like to the crowd, and the crowd with one voice.
We're all singing I'm Still Alive. Like we're all alive, just an example. Everybody knows that song, right? But yeah, something goes on there.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick, Amanda. What song influenced you?
Well, I have many. There are different influences in different times of my life. Getting sober, I had been listening to a Pearl Jam album. I started listening to it in like March. I think it came out in May, but I knew somebody and I got a little bit early. So I was listening to it and I got sober in July. So March, April, May, June, July. So for 4 months, I was listening to this album. And I went to my first recovery meeting. And the guy in the meeting that's chairing, so there's like a person that leads the meeting. We call it a chairperson. He's chairing the meeting and he says the attitude adjustment is an inside job, and talking about addiction and alcoholism as an attitude problem. And that in and of itself was interesting. This is about my attitude. And then when he said it is an inside job, I was like, wait a minute. Pearl Jam has a song called Inside Job. And I'd just been listening to this song for the past 4 months. So I go out to my car, I turn it on, and I'll never forget sitting outside that church. I was sitting outside a church. It was dark. It was like 9 o'clock at night. And I'm in my car. I had a white Altima at the time. And I was sitting in the car.
Hey, I've got a white Altima.
You have a white Altima too? Doesn't surprise me. And I put the song on and I listen and I'm like, oh my God, this is all about recovery. All these lyrics. There's a lot of jargon that we say, like just for today, stuff like that. It was so powerful to me that not just the lyrics and how I felt, this sense of freedom that it's over and that this was something that I had to do internally, that my problem was not outside. It wasn't that I just liked to drink, and when I drink, I couldn't stop, or that I was just a fun party girl. Like, I had now understood that there was something inside of me that needed to heal. But I also realized that the person who wrote that song actually was not Eddie Vedder, it's another band member, wrote the song, the lyrics, and the music. He wrote the whole thing. He's in recovery. And I was like, oh my God, if this guy, being a musician in that world, right? I guess I had heard here and there, some of them are sober. But I was like, this guy that I look up to so much is living in this world and he is sober, then maybe I could get sober, because I definitely don't have all that stress and pressure and outside influence, in that world. That rock and roll world is just different. Like we talked about, the drugs, alcohol just go hand in hand. And it really inspired me. It really, really inspired me. I wanted to do it probably because he had done it. I felt like maybe I could be somewhat in that world. Like if that person's in that world, maybe I want to be in that world too. We talk a lot about anonymity in our program, but I think it really serves a purpose sometimes when people let people know that there is another way, that you don't have to live like that. So that was one. There's just so many. When I was running and I got inspired to write my book, actually the song that really did it was Pump Up the Volume. Remember that song from like the 1980s? Pump up the volume, pump up the volume, dance, I would run and I'm like, maybe it's time to pump up the volume. Maybe it's time to like let the world know these things that I have going on inside of me. Mm-hmm. I was struck with, you're going to write a book. And it was like, okay, it's time for me to pump up my volume and let people know, and let people hear me. But I guess those are a couple. What about you? What about you, Patrick? What do you listen to? I know you work out. What gets you pumped? What's your pump up song?
Honestly, in recent years, I listen to more podcasts and audiobooks when I'm working out now.
Oh, you do? Isn't that funny how that happens?
It's crazy.
As we age.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, because like
I'm still back in 1985. You guys are definitely in 2020.
So, I don't know, because some of the music today, it doesn't really inspire me, but I will go to the classics. I listen like Metallica or Tupac. Or, Tupac for me. For me, Tupac, because he grabbed you with his voice. It's very emotional. You can feel his pain. You can feel just the intensity. You know what I mean? Like it's something, even though he's been dead for a long time, you can still feel it to this day. And so certain songs.
And clear.
Exactly.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So clearly.
Absolutely. And I can relate to some of that stuff. I'm trying to think, because he got way too many songs. Good Lord. So many tears. That's one of them. Like I relate to that because I lost a lot of people myself. I get it. I totally understand that. It's like one of my favorites. It's dark, but it's a really, really good song. The beat was just, it was hard. I feel it. I do. So that's one of them for sure. But I do like to listen to, like say, Metallica. That's one of my favorite bands. I like Pink Floyd a lot. The album, The Other Side of the Moon, I think that's what it's called. That's
Dark Side of the Moon.
Yes, that's my favorite album from them, period. That's my favorite. I don't know why, but it is. Sonically, it just
a lot of people's classic.
It is.
It's a lot of people's. It's so funny. I remember that brings me back to the memory in high school when they're like, all right, guys, we're going to eat these mushrooms and watch The Wizard of Oz, The Dark Side of the Moon. Have you heard about this, Patrick?
Yes.
It was like, all right, when the lion roars, you're going to turn on the first song, and they were saying the whole thing is like in sequence. Right. I never did it. I've heard it.
Oh, you never did it?
Or maybe it. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Yes, I did.
I'm about to say something. Yep. But yeah, that's one of my favorites. Sonically, it's just so advanced. My favorite, I say, instrumental track is called Any Color You Like. I just like the arrangement. I think it's great. It's just a beautiful track. You got to listen to it. Yeah, Any Color You Like.
Any color. Yeah. Any color you like. Pink Floyd.
Yes, I love it. I don't know why. I just love it. It stuck out to me. I was going to art school at the time, and that was like one of my favorite songs to listen to when I was like working on music stuff. I made a song with my buddy out in Sweden. Her name is Victoria. She was on my podcast as well, actually, because her and I put out a project a few years ago. We did an EP. I think you heard one of the songs, like a jazz type.
I think, yes. Yeah, I think you showed me. Yep.
I did. I did. But at that time, we had collaborated, and I did a song. I sampled Gordon Lightfoot. I forgot what song it was, but I sampled him. And it came out so...
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was. It came out so dope. And then I had an opportunity to get interviewed with a big station out in L.A., and even meet with some labels. My idiotic self took a nap that day, and I forgot to set my alarm, and I missed it.
Oh, no.
Yes, I kicked myself. Like, I was like, yeah. So that's what happened, but yeah.
Ginny had some close encounters with fame and celebrityism.
Okay.
I mean,
Share it.
Gosh,
Let's hear it.
I don't know. But no, I lived in LA. I was 19. I lived there till I was 25, and that's what I was doing, was making music, and it was incredible. I was surrounded in a lot of people at that time that were just some of the most talented, gifted people I've ever heard in my whole life. Live, even some of my closest friends were all kids that were coming out of the Music Institute right there in Hollywood. I lived in Hollywood near Sunset. I lived by the In-N-Out Burger. Tons of my friends went to school there. My boyfriend at the time was playing bass and learning keys there. He had met guitar playing guys there. And a lot of those people went on to do pretty great things. I had the chance to listen to people who ended up becoming some of the creators of the music for Orange is the New Black.
Julian,
Yeah.
too. Julian and my LA Fault Line. They
Yes,
opened
I
up
played
some-
for Carlos Santana and
Oh,
for
that's so dope.
Sierra
That is
and
so
all.
cool.
Oh, yeah, the guys I played with, man, they were, again, that situation. They did not grow up easy. They grew up hard. Most of them were from Lincoln Heights and Montebello and East LA. And you hear the stories too about how they stayed out of gangs at that time. You were either in a gang or you were playing music.
That's how powerful it is, that it grips
Yeah.
people. It's
Yeah.
enough. It becomes enough, right?
Yeah.
It becomes
Yes.
like enough that you don't need other things to fill that void because the music is
Mm-mm.
doing it for you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that was such an amazing experience for me, just because these were all guys who maybe a couple of them were trained, but not really. They learned by being in it and playing. They learned by learning early on, picking up an instrument and starting to play. They didn't have all the theory background and all that, but the way that they could play together was just incredible. And a lot of it encompassed that early Latino vibe that was in Los Angeles during that time, of guys like that were coming up. And then my friend Julian, that's who passed away in April. He was my guitar player at his funeral, hearing all these younger kids and different people coming up and talking about like how influential in the Latino music scene there, how these guys were just integrated into that at the time when these bigger names were hitting it big. They were all from around that area. So for me to get to play music with them, I was way younger, and it was cool because they were open. Here I was, some like younger chick from Albuquerque, New Mexico, but they knew that I loved to sing and they knew I loved to write. I didn't necessarily have the theory or music technologically behind me either, but to be able to have these, again, group of musicians, right? We probably didn't have a ton in common, but when it came to music, we had everything in common. We had a world in common. They would start writing different songs, or we would start with just a few chords. And I remember, Julian, it's the first time I ever collaborated with anybody. He'd be like, okay, well, this is a G. Is this what you're talking about? And I'm like, dude, I don't have any theory. But I would tell him, yes, that's it. That's the note. Okay, do that twice. Okay, do that bridge twice. Then he'd go, all right. He's all, we're going to do the verse. And then I would write the lyrics. And here this guy was, a seasoned musician who trusted me enough to let me have that creative process. Without that, I don't think I ever would have been in a position to be able to ever write music. Having that whole situation, I'm sure, Patrick, you probably collaborated with people. That's one of the most amazing, magical things I think you can experience with other human beings, is creating music together. It's crazy. Have you had the chance to do that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, with my old group, we used to collab a lot of times. We have ideas, and even just with words, like what to say. When me and Victoria, when we did our project a few years ago, when my parents had passed away, she would let me know if I need to remove certain stuff on the beat, or if I need to arrange things a certain kind of way, or whatnot. So, yeah, It was very interesting because the style that we did, I never done that before. For real. I never done that before. And the way it came out, it sounded really good. She pushed me and I pushed her as well, because she never done that style before either, because she's a folk music singer. That's what she does. But when her and I came together, it was more like I'd say like a jazz alternative type fusion, if that makes sense. It was very unique. But I loved it.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, in that time, I was very depressed. Like I was going through so much at that time. So that gave me an outlet to express myself.
So you needed that. And I think that's the cool thing, like what Ginny and I talk about a lot on our show, is that synergistic thing that happens when people are brought together. And I think music has that ability in a really impactful and profound way to just create this energy. Like you could have 5 different people on a stage, and because it's those 5 people, those specific people that come together and have this connection and this energy. So they make this group, and then their own individual energies kind of come together to make a larger new energy, which is then presented through the music as its own energy. It happens a lot, not just in music. When you have anything great that's being created out in the world, typically it's from people coming together. right?
Absolutely.
That new energy being birthed into the world that only those people can do,
Yeah.
Right.
right? You take one of those people out, you put another person in, it it might be a different energy and it might be a great energy too, but it's going to be a different energy than when those other people.
The guys that I got to play with, because it wasn't just a couple. I mean, the band was gigantic. There's a horn section, there were percussion and timbales and congas and all that. And the bass player, his name was Guy. He was amazing. God rest his soul. Grew up hard, same thing. He was amazing, this guy. And in fact, all these friends I had that were like going to the Music Institute would come and watch us in these crazy places in East LA. They'd be scared. They're like, where are we going to see you play music? Like, what are we doing? And they would hear him play. And they were like, dude, that guy has like the funk in him in a way. He's playing hard, difficult things. And it was naturally right there in him. So there were songs that we would write. And a lot of times that's exactly how they'd come together. It would start with an acoustic guitar, boom. And then I'm writing lyrics. And then our drummer's adding in his part. And then that shifts it. And then our bass player's adding in what he's hearing. And that
And it
shifts
changes it again.
Everything just continues to, and someone's adding in horns and then, percussion. By the time at the end, it wouldn't have evolved into that with even the slightest thing being a little different. You're right. One person stepping in and hearing it differently. By the end of it, you've got this like creation in the song that everybody's soul is in a little bit and it gets shaped that way.
Yes.
That's exactly how it gets shaped. It's very cool.
That's why it's so
So
important for us to be coming together and doing things collectively, having more connection with each other, whether it's writing music or it's at events and giving some kind of message or collaborating on a book or just anything. I feel like it's so important right now to talk about this because we are so isolated and we are feeling so alone, and the depression, the addiction, the mental illness is just skyrocketing the more and more we become separated from each other and isolated from each other. I just love that music is just such an easy thing that like a simple way anybody can pick up a guitar. There's obviously different levels of skill.
Yes.
But like you could, or pick up a drum, you could just come together. Like we had a party here last summer in my house where we just invited a whole bunch of people over and bring your instruments and just jam and just have fun. It just creates this good feeling that you just don't get really any other way. So I love that music is always there. It was there thousands of years ago, picking up a rock and banging on it, whatever they did. There was always a way to create this otherworldly energy. It's coming from ourselves, but it's in collaboration with, I believe, spirit. And I believe all great creations are coming from spirit through us. So to just get that thing more energized is just, it's exciting.
Well, you think even just like native tribes and people like that, cultures of all types, music is a part of their like foundation. Even in religion, people are praising God or people are singing in prayer, or Muslims, they chant, or Buddhism. You go back to chanting. How old is that? I mean, that goes so far back. And so much of it, I think, is like something outside of us that goes back to that consistent cadence, like the beat of things. Like we have a heartbeat. I think that maybe music and the beat of things pulls at us the same way. And why maybe it speaks to the heart a lot.
Or electric.
We are. It's electric.
It's electric.
What do you guys think of? Tell me you don't think of a wedding. You're like, all right, it's time to do the electric
Yes,
slide.
indeed.
I always
Yes.
think of a wedding. Right? Did you think of somebody's wedding right now? It's electric. Dude, you're like,
No.
yeah. What do you think of when you hear this? People are usually like, a wedding, my cousin's wedding. Everybody got drunk and there was a fight, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a perfect time machine. That's the thing about music too. I don't know that there's anything besides smell. Music is one of those things that is like literally a time machine.
Yes.
It can take you right back immediately to the emotional, almost just perfectly, almost like a mummified your emotions. You could hear that song and you're like, oh my God, it literally, like a time machine, takes you right back to the feelings, good or bad. It's one of the only things that has that power. That's kind of magical shit right there.
Yeah, that's probably why I'm stuck in the 90s and like 90s grunge music and rock music and classic rock. Growing up in my house, my dad would listen to Tom Petty and the Talking Heads and all those bands in the 70s and 80s. And then for me, my time being a teenager and listening to all the grunge music that was out. And I'm always trying to like get back. Like I'm a very nostalgic person. I'm always looking to like relive the past. Yeah, no, I like it. I like it. It's also a challenge for me though. It's part of my personality where I have to push myself to step into change and to adapt, get stuck in places. But it makes me feel good. It makes me feel safe. It brings back the good old days. I like it.
Yes.
I remember building forts with my brother and listening to the Talking Heads album. So a
Yeah.
little bit more about your podcast and the different types of people that you interview, because it's a broad range.
I want to kind of unify people. You know what I mean? Because everybody always
Yeah.
finds some kind of way to be divided on skin color or whatever the situation might be. And it's like, nah, like we all very similar. We all have our own life stories. Just because somebody may be the same skin color as me don't mean we have the same experience. We have our own ideology.
Yes.
And so that's why I started
Yes.
to have different people come over to my place or even do video calls to show my range of people that I know. And also it shows what kind of person I am as well, for sure.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
so,
Definitely.
so the biggest thing is like every episode I kind of talk about mental health, even if it's for a little bit. Like this is the biggest thing, like mental health. Like talk about depression, how we deal with it, how we overcame it.
Mm-hmm.
But I ask about all kind of questions. I try to, I guess, make people more human, I suppose. Even when I had the dominatrix on my episode, I was trying to show the humanity part of her as well. When she talked about certain things that she gone through in life, or even like past relationships or whatever, we talk about those things because we're more than just our title. You know what I mean? We're more than just that. So
exactly. So I find now, like we're talking about people in different walks of life, and a dominatrix versus I don't know anything about that, or some different skin color, and I'm white. I feel like I see people now more for their energy.
Absolutely.
Than for what's on the surface.
Yeah.
When I see a human being, it's what are they emanating? Doesn't matter what they look like. Doesn't matter anything, walk of life, anything like that. It's a feeling that I get when I'm around a person that draws me to them or pushes me away. And so that I feel like comes just with the spiritual enlightenment and the work that as well for you. The more we open up and the more spiritual we become, or more in touch with our own emotions, the more sensitive we become. Sometimes it's hard because then you're taking all that energy and you got to do all that work to kind of cleanse that or whatever. But then it also makes you very intuitive, and it makes you able to pick up on people's energy and say, that person is a person like you and I and you and Ginny, like we're each other's kinds of people, where like we can just feel and sense from each other that we want to know each other better and we want to spend more time and work together and stuff like that because of what we can offer the world and our own personal well-being. I think it's awesome being in this world. I love it.
We're finding our people and finding myself in a way I just did not anticipate. I always kind of felt like the podcasting thing was pulling at me in a way, and in a similar way like you, Patrick. I love people. And I love the things that I end up being able to learn, or also how they end up like alchemizing me being around them changes or sparks something inside of me. Sometimes it's not always easy, right? Or sometimes it's not always great things. Sometimes it's a shitty situation that my interaction with them causes, but it also causes a spark maybe to burn something down in order to make space for something else. To me, that's the intriguing thing.
Totally.
And the amazing thing about this technology and what we have in our hands is being able to talk to people in the UK and being able to talk to people in all these places all over the world where immediately just from talking and interacting that your spirits are onto something, and
for sure.
I think that's that all of us in this world right now that are doing what we do, we're all working shit out together. Like we're talking to you about music. It's like all of a sudden something else comes up in me. And I've heard conversations you've had with some fascinating people, like the dominatrix chick, right? I'm like, just there's not a lot of people who would think or even have an open mind about like, well, what's that life? What does that person go through on the day to day? And I love that.
Yeah, you are so open-minded. You just have this like huge open mind, open heart. You're like not afraid to just investigate like other people's walks of life. And that's so huge. Thank you for being
and accepting of people, because that is what we need.
Yes.
It's literally like an open place to say, I want to know what your human experience is, like legitimately, authentically as it can be. You're doing something really important with that, Patrick. And I love watching you continue to grow. And I know you'll grow even more. But it's so important. Yes, right? You're like, what?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Honestly, the same for YouTube. From the first episode to the last one, you can definitely tell the growth. Even the audio quality, it sounds amazing. And I can tell you very comfortable.
Well, thank you.
You girls are
we love it. We love doing it. We love doing it. What I love about you is your just complete like lack of judgment. You're more curious than you are judgmental. And I think that is huge. And that probably makes a lot of your guests and made us. I mean, we were with you for a long time.
Yes. right?
yeah.
Because we felt comfortable.
And it was
Because
easy.
We were like, yeah, I want to keep going. And I think if more people out there in the world can try to give off that vibe and that feeling, but truly get to that place inside first. You can't give away something you don't have, but allow people to feel comfortable around us to the point where they don't feel judged, they feel accepted. That's how the love grows, right? I
Absolutely.
mean, we've been saying all you need is love. All you need is love. We've been saying that since, I guess, the Beatles. I don't know. I've been saying that love is the answer.
I bet you those
We've been
guys-
saying that forever.
Yep.
Back to the music.
They probably got it
Yeah,
from
so-
somebody.
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying this for freaking ever.
Yeah.
And it's just time that we do that. And I think in whatever artistic form that we're being called to, Ginny and I talk about this a lot on our shows. We all have some kind of like spark and some kind of gift and to be out there. And I think us, the ones that are doing it now, have a duty and a responsibility to encourage other people and to motivate other people to step into this space because it can be intimidating. It can be scary. But if we're welcoming people into this warm, loving, accepting place, then they're going to feel more comfortable to open up and share what's going on inside because we're all here for a purpose. Ginny said it a bunch of times last season, you know, like whatever you have in you, that spark is what you're meant to leave on this earth when we leave.
And no one
So
else can
I
leave
think
it.
it's
There's no other body that'll leave it. Literally,
No.
your body's the
No.
only one that was able to transport it here. So please leave it with us. Because it's like,
yes, and
you're coming from like, you know, outer space heaven. Literally, when you came here, you brought a spark with you and no one else could bring it but you. To think about how many people might leave not realizing how special, even if they felt like it didn't matter that much. It's like, no, it matters because it'll never be able to come back in that form ever again. So
No,
please leave it. Instead of us being threatened of each other when one of us is doing well in a whatever it is, right? We have this human condition of like, oh God, they're doing better than me. And it's like, no, you don't have to feel that way. You want them to do well. Push
join.
them.
We want to join. We want to join
Exactly.
together and
Right.
say, that's awesome that person's doing that. Can I get involved in that? Can
And-
I do that
and to
somehow?
not
Can
be
I,
afraid.
that's the whole point, I think, of why we have our artistic abilities and our personalities and the things that we put out there in the world to inspire and motivate people is to bring us together into that space. And most people that I see, if I ever have that feeling, they're not putting off any energy of like, I'm better than you
No.
and you should be threatened by me. No. If
Right.
I ever feel like that, it's my own shit, right? It's the own
Right.
stuff that I'm going through
100%.
on that day.
Yes.
This doesn't happen all the time. It happens occasionally. And then I have to check in and say, what am I feeling right now? What am I going through right now that's making me feel this separation from this person instead of this coming together?
It's a fear.
It's
It's got to
never
be
the-
fear, right? It's got to be fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
yeah,
also
I'm
too,
sure.
think about our podcast is our legacy when you think about it. This is something
Oh,
that's gonna be here once we're dead and gone. But
Forever.
if people want to know who I am or who you are, they can play this or play whatever episode and they know who you are. They can learn.
Yeah.
Your
Yes.
grandkids, great grandkids, all that.
kids.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
this- yeah, absolutely. So it's
That's
my
so
it's my
cool.
documentation, it's my audio book in a way. You know what I mean? Because I do talk about certain things
Yeah.
that people don't know about my life, things that I went through or
Right.
seen. It's still more things I haven't shared yet. I don't know if I will share
Yeah.
everything, but I share, some other things for sure eventually.
We
Oh,
all
yeah.
got those
Keep it in the
chapters.
arsenal.
Yeah, we all got those
Absolutely.
chapters.
The thing about
It's
it too,
time to
when I
come
have my
out.
guests, I really want people to like to feel comfortable and share their testimony. Even when I had my cousin who was an inmate in prison, he felt very comfortable. He wanted to talk about it. I said, cool. I said, it's no judgment at all. And I asked him, I said, how'd you feel when they closed the door on you? You know you weren't coming home. He said, honestly, I broke down the crowd. He was 15 at the time. And he's 45 now. He's been there for 30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Holy crap.
So I mean, him
And
even
that-
as
yep.
a soul, he has developed as this human experience. The bigger chunk of it has been behind bars.
They have cell phones and stuff now. They can kind of, I guess, know what's going on. But of course,
Mm.
the real world is different from social media. it's
Sure
way
is, isn't
different.
it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. But they can probably listen to music, listen to podcasts. They could do stuff like that. So bringing it back to the whole music thing, like even when you're down and out, in jail for all that time and the beating your soul must take, being in there and your mind playing tricks on you and all the
Constantly.
stuff that goes on, but being alone and just the same people in the yard and whatever, whenever you see them, it just must be grating on a human. But then to have that music or something to turn it on and just to escape for a moment, listen to an upbeat song to get you out of that. Like that is why I think music is so important, because we can get to some really, really, really low places,
Oh,
really low places. Like that's
yeah, absolutely.
like that song, Inside Job. So that song again saved my life more than once because I was sitting in the parking lot. It was my brother's funeral. I flew home. I had to go get all the pictures printed to make the board, you know, the board at the funerals, all the pictures.
I'm sorry
And I
about
had to
that, by
go
the
pick
way.
up his. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I was by myself and it was raining and I was driving. I had my mom's car and I was driving and I was in the parking lot at CBS. I had just gotten the pictures and I just started bawling. And the bar that he used to work at that I drank at with him many times was right down the block. It was like 2 or 3 blocks away from where I was. And my thoughts were, if I go there and get drunk, maybe I'll feel closer to him. Maybe I'll relive some kind of memory. This is this crazy alcoholic thinking. I put that song back on and I put on Inside Job and I just sat there and I listened to it and I just cried and it just gave me the courage to reach out to somebody, which is what happened. I texted somebody, they called me back or whatever it was and it passed. I turned the car on and I went home, went to my mom's and just kept going. That's the power of music to save us in those moments when there's nothing else. There's just nothing. Yeah, I think it's super, super powerful, like nothing else on this planet.
I agree, especially when it's like really good storytelling. You can envision what they're saying. What's that song called? Under the Bridge by Red Hot Chili Peppers. You can envision.
Yeah, I just heard that this morning. That's
really?
crazy you said that. I pulled out of my driveway.
So good. Those guys pull at me. Those guys
Wow.
pull at me in a big way. That song,
How
and you're
ironic is
hearing
that?
him. That is ironic,
Wow.
you guys.
But it's like
But you
songs
were-
like that, you can envision what they're saying. You know what I mean? It's like when the storytelling is really good, you got a good vocalist. Oh, it makes the song even much better for sure. And the production, the mix, and all this stuff is everything's in sync. I love that.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah, music is everything for me for real. It's everything. I mean, even though I don't really I don't make music as much anymore, but I still have a love for it for sure. I do. I have a love for it. I mean, I did a beat to my my podcast actually. I did that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Your
it.
show, the opening song. That's you.
Yeah.
Good.
It's very cool. It's a very, very cool beat.
Yeah, it fits the show. You know, it does.
It
It fits
does.
my vibe.
Yep.
So yeah. And that beat is I did the beat years ago, but I said, I'm using that one. I was gonna use some other stuff. But I said, nah, that one just sounds like perfect to me. Just perfect. It
Yeah.
stands out.
But yeah.
Do you guys? So my light, I hate to keep interrupting, but
Oh,
my
go ahead.
table light, which I never have happen, is like, well, it's an LED light, so it's like surging, it's powering on and off. So we
Interesting.
must be tapping into some good stuff.
Must be. Let me
One
ask
of
you
these
this
times.
question. So whenever you sad, do you listen to sad music? Because I don't. Because I feel like if I listen to sad music while I'm sad, it makes me even worse.
It's me too. I can't do it. I used
Yeah, I don't listen to a lot of sad music anymore.
to. Yeah, I don't either. I used
Only when I'm
to.
only when I'm down. Only when I'm down.
You
Nice.
do listen to sad music when you're down.
when you're down.
Oh yeah.
You make yourself
definitely.
feel worse.
I like
Sad.
to listen to music that matches how I feel
Ooh.
when I want to be in it. Sometimes I
Okay.
like being in it, and then when I'm ready to get out of it,
Okay.
then it's like, oh, let me put this
Ooh.
on.
I can't do it. It's too much. There's Amanda listening to like Barry Manilow. No, just kidding. And then there's me. I'm like, can somebody bring me "Hanging Tough" by New Kids on the Block?
Didn't they have a tour
That's really-
recently?
They are on tour.
They're still touring. I just saw the
Yeah,
other day. I got an email.
I'm
Wow.
hanging tough.
Amazing.
I fucking love those dudes. But Patrick, I can't. It's too much. Towards the end of my drinking, I did a little bit of the like listening when Amanda, I would play music. I would listen to Jeff Buckley in a cemetery. My homie.
Damn,
I don't know. I don't even know who Jeff Buckley
Oh.
is. I mean, I've heard the name.
Do you-
I'm gonna write that down.
He's not alive. Oh, Amanda, he's something special. That guy, he passed away, like drowned in a river, but incredible. He was 100% sober, by the way. He like mocked the whole music industry with how everybody was always hammered. He did not do that. He was underground, based out of New York.
When did he
Get
die?
the album Grace. He died in, I want to say like 96
That's
or
been a long time.
7. And
Okay.
he was 20. I think he was that 27 Club guy.
27. Yes,
His
a lot of
well,
guys died.
Yeah.
27.
He did Jeff Cohen's Hallelujah. He was one of the first people to like bring that kind of back. But he does it. His voice is so haunting, and his guitar playing is. You actually would probably love him. I cannot believe you've never heard him. The album Grace.
I may have. I just don't know who it is. I
Oh.
probably have heard it and didn't know the name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he-
I'll listen to it. What is the album called?
Grace is the first one that you should get.
Grace.
Yes. And his father was this famous folk musician who kind of wasn't really around when he ends up being a musician. And his music was incredible what that guy tapped into vocally and with his guitar. And yeah, I'll have to fight it. So you had never heard him either, Patrick?
No. I probably have. I just don't know the name.
Realize it.
Yeah, that's
He
what I'm
never
saying. I
got
probably
real
too.
mainstream though, that he passed
Oh,
before
okay.
he ever did.
So he was
Yeah.
independent.
Oh yeah. Like he
Okay.
was well known. A lot of very famous musicians reference him or mention him, guitar players. He was very well known, but it was like in that underground. That was kind of his thing too. He wasn't real big on like the whole making it to be
Yeah.
famous thing. Mm-mm. But
Mhm.
incredible. That music, whoo, his version of Hallelujah. Actually, you guys should listen to that today. And if you want to get a little bit of the feels,
I think I've
Well,
heard that. I
right.
think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, there's a lot of good ones. And here he is, he's gone, but yet you guys have never heard him before, and you're gonna get to know exactly who he is by listening to this, to a piece of his
Yeah.
work. You're right. Music
Yeah,
rock
yeah.
makes
Yep.
us live on forever.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. You're gonna be like, Jenny, where's Jeff Buckley been my whole life? I'll be like, Patrick, I don't know, bro. That's how I felt. When I lived in LA at that period of time. I would have never known who that guy was, but I was around all
Well,
these
see, that
guitar
makes sense.
players and these musicians. And the guy who went on to be the Orange is the New Black guy was like obsessed with him. And that's how I got to know
That's
who he
crazy.
was.
Wow.
I had no idea who he was. And I showed him to my brother. And my brother has now, all these years later, like, yeah, music.
Wow.
We can count on it to keep us connected when we still can't see straight.
The Madonna song is going through my head. Music makes the people come together. Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
See, even Madonna.
Bring them together, people. Yes,
Yep.
Madonna, icon.
I think that music is going to be the thing, one of the only things that can save us, as silly as that sounds, like as the world just keeps doing its crazy freaking whatever is happening,
Yeah. Whatever it is.
that
Yeah.
whatever it is that's happening, I think music will still have the ability to bring us back. And we need to support artists that are out there. We need to support those original artists. And if we're impacted or inspired by their music, share it on this crazy technological outlet we have, but support those original artists because I feel like they might be the real warriors in all this. They might be the massive healers of all of our crazy shit happening. That's what I've been thinking. If we can continue, we're going to need arts and music. So
Yeah, 100%. I was just thinking about we're coming up on Christmas season, right? And the power that some of that music has, like Silent Night, this music that just can like touch you in this soft place, in this vulnerable place. And the
Mhm.
world is such a hard place right now. Like literally, yes, it's hard to
Oh,
navigate, but like
God.
a hard,
Ooh, Lord.
hard place,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Music could just soften us up a little bit and really come together as a humanity.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
can all feel that deeper connection to something greater within
Mhm.
that binds us all. Like we were talking about before, Patrick, like this coming together on this, what do we have in common? And the
Mhm.
only thing we really all have in common is that basic humanity, which we're sorely lacking. So I'm going to be listening a little bit harder in the next couple of months over
Me
you
too.
know, the holiday season for where I can tap into a little bit more grace, a little bit more softness. That Alleluia song, like you're talking about, that
I
Wait
gotta
till
check it
you
out.
hear.
that brings me to tears.
It's one of the most
Yeah.
beautiful things you will ever
Yeah.
hear. And if you can, listen to it with headphones on because it will just wrap you up like a blanket. And it's just him
Yeah,
and his
and it
electric
moves
guitar.
us. Music just moves us
Mhm.
to tears. Sometimes it just comes out and it's like, where did that come from? It
Mm.
just touches me on such a deep level. And like you're saying, Ginny, that maybe that is the thing. Maybe that is the thing that's going to bring us all together.
Right, because it's something that we have way back to our roots, like our heartbeat. We don't have to have an opinion about our heartbeat. We're not like, well, my heartbeat's better than yours, bitch, because it leans right.
Yeah.
Well, mine's better than yours because they're a liberal and you're
Oh.
stupid, right? Our
Right.
heartbeat's our
Yeah.
heartbeat. And music
It is.
to me, it's like it can be
It's a heartbeat.
yeah, and it's across the board. So it's a way for us to at least as we continue to do this, maybe if we can use it more to literally almost just neutralize us and get us back to like, oh, wait a minute, you like that beat? Yeah, that's cool. Or like getting back to those things that call to the inner parts of our heart, not
Mhm,
this outer shit that we're all
None
up
that
in.
matters. None of it friggin' matters.
No,
It's
it
so
doesn't. No.
frustrating to me.
No.
Mm-mm.
I think my biggest thing with music, with this whole shit, I just want more original artists, okay? Like, because remember, you had like Bing Crosby, Patti LaBelle, you had all these artists that stood out. Like, they had their own image, their own sound. And nowadays,
Yeah.
so many artists that I listen to, well, that I heard, I don't even know who it is because they all sound the same to me.
They
Same
sound the
cadence.
same.
Because it's all auto-tuned, or whatever they call
Auto-tune.
that, right? Like,
Well,
But even what
the
they're
cadence.
saying,
so
even
Yeah,
what they're
exactly.
talking about, you're like, are you? Wait, what?
Exactly. Yeah, it's not that creative. Not saying everybody's like that, but a lot of people that I hear are like that. So I really
Yes.
hope
Yeah.
that we have more original artists, their own style, sound, whatever the case may be. You know, just something, just stand out. Just be different. Stop
Yeah.
following the
That
same
it,
trend. That's
Mhm.
all. That's the
Exactly.
biggest
That it
thing.
could be their own personal self-expression instead of what the music producer or this
Yes.
A&R guy, all those guys
Mhm.
on top want you to do, right? Like my hope for these
What's going to
artists is
sell?
that they can go in. Yeah, exactly. And they can go in and they can say, no, that's not true to me. This is really what I
Mhm.
want to sound like. This is
Right.
really what I have to say. This is the story that I have to tell. I don't want to tell some stupid, nonsensical nonsense about being out partying last night and blah, blah, blah. Like,
And the
I
tattoos
want
I
to
got
talk
on my
about
face.
what's going on.
Look at the
Mhm.
tattoos on my face, and I'm all tattooed up
Right.
and clean.
Honestly, I'm gonna be
Him.
real though. Like this is one of the reasons why I kind of started doing music because of that. Because like when I try to do music for other people, they want me to sound like everybody else. It's like no, I got my own sound. I want to be an artist and be creative. Because I went to art school. I'm creative. I like to
That's the whole
stand
point.
out. I don't want to be like nobody else. How can you be a
Mhm.
legend if you sound like everybody else? Think about
You
that.
never
Can't.
no.
A lot of them are selling out for the money because
Exactly.
it's too risky.
It is.
Yep.
It's just too risky to be like, I'm just going to do my own thing and see where that takes me
Mhm.
because
Right.
everybody's in it for the almighty dollar. So it's become less about your creative expression and more about what's going to make money for the man.
When you hear people in the like awakening or like 5D community, you hear people talking about these things, they say that one of the ways that most of that music that is making the money is designed in a way that it's dumbing us down,
Oh
that
yeah.
it's pulling
For
us
sure.
in and dumbing
Yeah.
us down intentionally. Again,
Yeah.
and not even necessarily dumb, but dumbing down all the feelings and the senses we have that music brings. It's bringing them down to this numbed out level where we're not thinking, where we're talking about these things that are very small and keeping our mind in lower densities.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the music
Yeah.
that sells. That's what makes the most money right now. Is the
Yeah.
lower
That's probably why I
negative-
never liked pop. I never liked pop music. And that's probably why, because it
Maybe.
always feels like the older stuff is just more purposeful.
Oh God, yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah. But even
Yeah.
the pop music from back then,
It was good.
it was so good. I'm like,
It was
"Damn,
dope,
Jason,
yeah.
bring it.
It was better.
It
It was
was
better.
good.
Yeah, I listened to it when I was young, but I guess when I look at my 20s, I started like turning against pop music and I stuck with the older stuff, 70s, 80s, 90s.
80s, though, even you still had like Tears for Fears and these guys who were on the pop charts, but they were musicians and they were
Everybody
good.
wants to rule the world. Can you say a more truer statement?
Yeah.
I think maybe people are afraid to say the truth. Maybe people are afraid to really be out there and vulnerable aside from
For
just
sure.
the money. Maybe it's a good way for them to hide
Oh, yeah.
their real truth.
Yeah.
That's the other part, right? Music is also in a different way because of the fact that we have screens now. Even thinking about like MTV, when it was like MTV and there were music videos, it suddenly came like these songs have movies now. This is like a mini movie I can see on this song.
Yeah.
And for
It was
that
cool.
to develop, and then boom, that's not even like existent anymore. Do you guys see music
No.
videos
There's some videos I
On
saw
YouTube.
recently. I don't know where.
on
but-
YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know about TV. I only have Netflix. I don't even have
But
Me
like, but you know, it used to be a thing for us. Like they used to be like, yes, I'm gonna watch TRL or
Yes.
I'm gonna watch like the video itself. I wonder if the visual part has gone away because it's not even interesting anymore compared to your freaking internet and your shit that you can be scrolling through all day.
everything else.
It's
it might not
still
even be-
there.
yeah.
It just it's not that creative. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Okay.
not super creative. The videos back then, they had a story to it. They
Oh yeah.
a love story,
thing.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They had the visualization was just different, and it's like now
Mhm.
everybody do pretty much the same thing.
I was just thinking about it must have been like 91 or 93 when November Rain,
Oh,
Guns N' Roses.
Oh my god,
was
that
number one.
video.
Great group. Yeah.
No, it was number one on the MTV countdown for like weeks. And we used to have a house in the Poconos growing up, my family and another family. And that's where we would go and take our vacations. And I remember me and my friend Chrissy, we would run home. Wherever we were, we'd be out exploring waterfalls, in the forest or whatever. We
cool.
would just be out like, and we'd know, okay, at 5:00, at 4:57, they're going to play the number one. We got to run home and see it. And I remember running up into the loft space and sitting in front of the TV and watching November Rain. I mean, every time that song comes on the radio, I listen to the entire
Well,
thing.
thanks.
I will sit in my car
You had the
until
memory.
it's over
Yeah.
before I come in my house.
It's just super
so
intense.
powerful.
That one evokes so much emotion. And it did, like from the second you heard it, even the first time to right now, like every time I hear it, same thing where I'm like,
Same thing.
I can go back.
Exactly. Like we were
Reminisce
talking
of-
about
yep.
before. Yeah, it's just not the same. It's just not
Nah,
the same. And
nah.
people say, well, it's every generation changes. I don't know. I tend to think that things are, like you said, dumbed down. Things are just a little bit
Oh.
less full of substance. There's like less substance,
Mhm.
especially in the music world, the things coming out today.
It's like
Yeah,
eating processed food.
I agree.
We're ingesting processed music. It's like not
Yeah.
organic.
Yeah.
For real.
Microwave
Yeah.
microwave food, if you
For
ask me,
real. Like
yes.
Chef Boyardee music.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Exactly.
And I'm not trying to sound like one of the old
Brilliant.
people, but it's like, man, it's like it just doesn't
I
grab me
know.
like that. It doesn't.
No. And I do remember though, and I remember like, you hear your parents or your grandparents say those things when they would talk about our
Yes.
music. Man, when I got
That's
old
not
enough
real
to
music.
listen to their music though, like Sinatra
Yes.
or any of those guys, like during that time, the vocals like you're talking about, like Etta James and people were Tina Turner, the Pointer Sisters, like whoever, where you're listening to like
Yes.
vocal and you're like, damn, this is good music. Like this is really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Lives.
I don't see an
Yes.
artist today that remind me of a like Donna Summers or Sheryl Crow. I don't see any of that. Prince. I don't see an artist today that will even be on that level in the future. I don't see that
And
at all.
you know what? It's like people
Not even
talk
close.
about, right? Yeah, like people talk about like Taylor Swift. She's got a generous heart, and man, like what she creates is huge. But
That's
I'll probably
cool.
get like hunted down for this. But I've never been like, oh, I'm so moved. I'm like, oh, she sings every song, the same song all the time, except now she's a different age. I'm like, oh, 21 is the album, or what are you? Like, I don't know, 13
Yeah.
or 17 now. It's the same story. The guy breakup. Oh, not to knock it, because it's great the way she does it. But is there some other, like if you think about, are there single female acoustic or even male artists? I guess you got Ed Sheeran. People are kind
Yeah.
of,
He's talented.
Ed Sheeran does it, but females? Speaking as, can you hear Sandy singing in the background?
Yes.
I do.
My kid
Sandy,
singing.
our little
Singing.
singer.
Yeah, singing. There you
Oh
go.
my goodness. But it's true.
She's
It's
amazing.
when we see those people and when we spot them on YouTube, and maybe that's part of our job too, right? We find some badass artists, like be like, oh my God, I found this kid out of Canada. He's playing his guitar in his room. It's
Yeah.
badass. Check out his stuff. Because
Yeah.
There are
putting it
so
out.
many amazing musicians out there and talented people that just do not fall into that track, maybe because they're not moldable. Like my drum teacher, he's amazing. During a lesson, he'll get on my kit and he'll like show me what's possible with the beat he just taught me. And I'm like, what? Like, how did you just do that? And so friggin' fast. He's amazing. And I was like, why didn't you ever try to like make it and be like famous? And he's like, it's just not, I don't want to go down that road. And I
Totally.
respect people.
Big time.
Yeah, respect people like that are not willing to sell
To
their soul,
perform.
right? And to
Right.
to perform exactly.
What-
That's
what-
the word.
And conform, right?
Conform.
Conform. Yeah.
Yes.
Conform.
Yes, exactly.
You hear.
I think also artist development, we need that big time. Because
Yes.
Motown had that. They had it. They taught them how to speak, how to conduct themselves when it comes to interviews, and how to promote
That's
their
a
music.
great point.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a great
Totally.
point.
It's
That's
lacking
it's-
these days.
Mm-hmm.
it is. It is. They have to teach kids in school how to write emails without using the letter U for the word you,
Oh,
or
Lord
to
have
the number
mercy.
2 for
Really?
TWO.
Are you
like,
serious?
Yeah, like
They don't learn cursive.
They have.
They don't learn cursive,
have-
Patrick. Did you know that?
My kids do.
I heard
Ask
about
them to
that.
be teachers in that. But yeah. But a lot of that stuff, Jenny, that's the same thread here. They just don't know how to like conduct themselves out in the
Mm-mm.
world. And I guess if they did, like you're saying, Patrick, and they knew how to get themselves out there and talk to people in a way that can sell themselves, but still be authentic
Yeah,
and
for
let
sure.
the people know this is who I am. I'm worth your time, but I
Right.
might not conform.
Absolutely.
You know, I wonder. That's a good point.
Because we need
Well,
it.
who knows?
Those are the people we need. That's the stuff we need to hear. Amanda, like when we talk about challenges, the three of us should go find someone we've never heard and share it with each other. Be like, listen to this kid, Adam.
There's this dude. I'm going to find him right now
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Yeah.
He is a drummer. I think
Okay.
Esteban, maybe is his name.
Tom might have sent me
Um,
some of his stuff. Does he mess around and do like he'll be drinking
Is this the drummer?
coffee and then he does
This is
stuff?
him. ELESTE, El Estepario Siberiano. I don't know
How I
where
spell
he's
that?
from.
Is he the
I
guy
have
that
no
like,
idea.
does he drink coffee and stuff while he's drumming?
I've
Stuff?
never seen him drink coffee, but he is absolutely incredible. Just
Okay.
search ELEST.
Okay.
I think he's smoking a cigarette. I think he's smoking a cigarette right now. He's smoking a
Okay. That's what it might be the same guy. He's hilarious.
He's-
EL.
He's drumming with one arm
Yes,
right now.
That's the guy. I've seen him. Tom just showed him to
smoking a
me.
butt.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
he's got
insane.
like 3.2 million followers.
Yes.
This guy could blow probably any drummer behind any band that you know out of the water.
Did you-
But here he is, just he's sitting in his space with his
Yes.
drum kit, doing what he wants to do.
ELE or ELA?
ELESTEP. El Estepario
Oh, geez, there he is. Jorge
Siberiano.
Jorge
Siberiano.
Sarido.
I butchered that one.
Oh yeah,
Estebariano.
this is the guy. I've seen him.
See him?
How bananas is that? I've seen him. He came up on my husband's feed not that long ago.
Yeah,
It's
huge, huge.
crazy.
Amazing. So everybody listening out there, go listen
Yes,
to
give him a
Estebariano.
Right? Let's do that though, you guys.
So,
Let's
yeah.
find some unknowns. We should and share them with each other.
Might as well,
Like,
right?
Find it.
I will.
Yeah, like let's go
I will.
dig for somebody. Be like, hey, I found
Yeah.
this kid out of Holland. Go
Let's
find
go
some
on
cool shit.
on a treasure hunt. That's right.
Let's go on a
hunt.
treasure hunt, right?
Yeah.
If we can find some cool news, we all need it right now more than ever.
All right, guys, let's wrap this awesome session up. This was so cool.
So cool.
Patrick, thank you so much for being
Absolutely.
with us.
You're very
Yes,
welcome. Can I
working.
I want to
yeah.
say thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. It's been really fun.
It's always good times hanging.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I appreciate you ladies so much for coming up here as well. And yeah, it's all in full circle now. So, yep.
That's what we're here to do.
appreciate it.
We're all doing
Yeah.
this thing
Wrapping it up.
together.
Full circle.
Absolutely.
We rise together.
That's
Yes,
right.
indeed.
All right, everybody. If you like the show, subscribe, share it with your friends, leave us a comment. If you have a topic or something you'd like us to talk about, Jeannie and I are going to be doing every other show, just her and I, and then we're going to have a guest. So we're going to have a guest once a month, and then we're going to have her and I once a month. So we are totally open to topics. If you'd like to be a guest, email us, soulrisingpodcast@gmail.com, soulrisingpodcast@gmail.com. You could find me on Instagram. You could find Jeannie's awesome furniture biz on Instagram as well, which she is still doing.
Still doing
it. So
The
check her out.
Flippin' Phoenix.
The Flippin' Phoenix.
Yes.
She's killing
And what a,
Yeah.
working it out. What about, and how about,
Yeah.
did we already talk about where we can find you, Patrick, also?
Patrick's on Instagram.
P Thriller is PTHRILLA. Just search it. You'll see me with a hat to the back, smiling.
Yes.
That's me.
Yes.
You see my
yes.
fitness stuff, my
Yes.
podcast stuff. That is me, baby. Yep, that's it.
We love it.
Yes. I'll put that in the show notes as well, and I'll put a link to your podcast on Spotify.
Sounds
This is great having you,
so
Patrick.
much. Yeah, this
Thank
is huge.
you.
And
I
this is like
appreciate it.
a step in our growth and evolution. So thank you for being here to take this first step with the first interview with us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Thanks.
it as well. All right. You ladies have
Thanks,
a good
Patrick.
day, okay?
Have a good one.
All right, you
Okay,
too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
If this podcast resonates with you and you want to dive deeper, check out my blog, Get Real, all in on love, loss, and connection at AmandaMcCoyFlanagan.com. That's McCoy with a K. You can also follow me on Instagram at Amanda McCoy Flanagan. See you next time. Until then, let that soul rise.